Hey, so I just had an epiphany about this book, which is my first book, my freshman effort, and it's pretty insane story. I just realized something that didn't make sense for years. So I wrote this book, and when I first started, I didn't have money for a publicist, and I was just a regular sales guy. So I decided to fake like I'm my own publicist, and I made up this name, Michael Rickner. It's out the bag now. And I got myself on shows like the Wendy Williams and Howard Stern and all over TV. Dr. Ian Smith and I did a few shows. I met a lot of, I was pretty popular. And then I was going to parlay those successes to get on Oprah. That's where I was looking. That's where I was headed. I knew that if I could get on Tyra Banks, I would be able to hopefully use that to leverage that media to get on the Oprah show. And I got that close. So I'm Michael Rickner, this invisible guy that I made up, is calling, and he's on the phone with the talent booker for the Tyra Banks show. And I'm pitching her, and I'm giving her my idea, and she's sitting there quiet, just like the way the Howard Stern talent booker did, and she's like, hold on, right? And then she goes back, she comes back, she said, we're gonna get back to you. And I'm like, okay, I know what that means. I was like, I half thought I was gonna get the boot, and half thought I thought I was 50-50, I had a 50-50 shot. A month goes by, I don't hear from anybody, and what do you know? I'm watching TV one day, and Tyra Banks does a whole week-long episode on the topic of this book, colorism. And I just laughed. I was like, wow. There was a girl named Tracy that I went to college with who was like, one of the most well-off black girl in college with her. She married this artist, and they live on Star Island in Florida. And she said to me one day, I was like, Tracy, you got to help me. And she was like, Vinton, I don't want anything to do with that because you have no idea how much people steal in this industry. And I was like, Tracy, you just don't want to help me. And I was pretty nasty. I flipped out. But years later, my daughter's born, and I made sure that I married a dark-skinned girl and had a beautiful dark-skinned child. I did that by design, purposefully, because I hated the notion of me being a dark-skinned guy and marrying some white girl or light-skinned girl and having children that didn't look anything like myself and being so proud. Guys in Brooklyn used to do that, walking around with dark-skinned guys, walking around with light-skinned kids that looked nothing like them and being so proud. And I was like, you look like a fool. So I made sure my daughter was a chocolate girl. I did that. I engineered that. And we are out at this restaurant because I wanted to, like my mother had done years before, she would take me to all these fancy restaurants and Barney's to make me feel like even though you're dark skinned, you take a back seat to nobody, right? So I'm in this restaurant at the Miracle Mile, Manhasset. It's like the Rodeo Drive of Long Island, all these products. And we're in this restaurant called Toku. And if you go to Manhasset, Miracle Mile, you go to that restaurant, if you see magazines where women are dressed in Gucci and Prada and you want to know where they hang out at Toku. So me and my wife are celebrating my daughter's like 5th birthday, and they bring out this cake and they light it on fire. And as they're bringing out the chocolate cake and my daughter's sitting there with all this bright smile on her face, I'm feeling like a proud dad. None other than Tyra Banks walks in and sits right diagonal across from us. And I'm having a hard time concentrating on this beautiful moment with my daughter because Tyra Banks is sitting there, and she's staring at me like she's a psycho. Like she's literally staring at me like she's about to come over. I'm like, I want to say like, what are you looking at? And for years I didn't. And she was with this light-skinned district attorney and his daughter. Very tall guy, looking like he played basketball. He was a famous district attorney, and she was with his daughter. And she stared at us for literally 45. Didn't even talk to him for 45 minutes, just staring at us like she was insane. And for years, I didn't understand why she felt the need to stare at us this way. I wanted to get up and say, Tyra, you stole my idea for that light dark skin thing. That was my idea, Tyra. I was the guy who talked to you. I wanted to tell her, but I didn't. I just felt good that she was. I felt good because we were getting attention. To be honest, I was like, yeah, she's staring at us, and and it just dawned on me that when I sent in the press kit with my picture on it, Tyra Banks saw that press kit, she knew exactly who I was. She knew exactly who I was, and she purposefully sat there shocked that even though she screwed me over and stole my idea, that I was still here with my beautiful, and I was living what I was professing in this book. So I'm hopeful that this video helps you to see that I'm not just some guy who wrote a book and is trying to peddle it as some story you should read. I live this. I live this. I've done all these things that I said I did, and I just realized after 15 years why Tyra Banks was staring at us like a psychotic rapist in Toku that night. So the moral of this story is, believe in yourself.